Knowing the way to a garden doesn't make you racist. I happened to be working the day that Oregon beat its all-time heat record of 117 degrees. I was downtown Portland, and it was brutal. It was a ghost town. There was nobody on the streets. So if I had a passenger, I would have to pull up to the location and, of course, just wait for them to come out of some location. All the Portlanders, they were hunkering down. It's the tourists who were trying to go to places like the Japanese Garden or the Rose Garden. And so I had already taken a half dozen people up to the Japanese and or Rose Garden. They're right next to each other. And so I had this passenger. I come pulling up, and at his location, I had no choice but to wait at the stoplight. The heat was causing my app to fail. So sure enough, almost simultaneous to the app failing, the light turned green. I didn't see him. I looked around, so I started to go, and I hear the guy yell like a Tarzan. Hey! So it's 47 degrees cooler in my car, and most passengers would get in and go, ah. But this guy seemed intent to be irritated at me, and so I said, yeah, I wasn't going to leave you. I was just going around the block. And he goes, dude, it's 117 degrees out there. We're not going to wait out on the sidewalk. And yeah, I know. I understand. I was just letting you know why I had to go around. And I had to tell him that, well, could you put in your GPS where we're going, because I'm having to restart my phone. As he's doing it, he's like muttering under his breath how annoyed he is. Well, the very first turn that we make, I just spontaneously said, are we going to the Japanese Garden? And both of them just, yes. And I go, I knew it. I knew we were going to the Japanese Garden. And they both, again, just like, and I could just tell they were disgusted at me. And how do you know that we were going to the Japanese Garden? And then I leaned over for the first time and noticed his wife was Asian. Because I've been up there about a dozen times today, taking people up to the Rose Garden or the Japanese Garden right next door. That's how I knew. And he goes, oh, that's how you knew, huh? Naturally, it was a little bit annoying at the implication. Dropped him off. Anyway, the very next guy in my car was a guy that had a Scottish accent that was so thick that I could barely understand him. And after he got in, he was very polite. He asked how I was doing, and I told him, I said, well, I just sort of had a little bit of a incident regarding insensitivity. And I told him the story. He goes, laddie, let it go. Knowing the way to a garden doesn't make you racist. Look, if after hearing my accent you asked me if we were going to a Scots pub for an ice cold lager, I would not be offended. 500 years of stereotype notwithstanding, I will buy you a pint. I said, please tell me we're going to a Scots pub. Not just for a super cold iced beer, which sounded nice, but also to listen to that guy talk. He goes, nah, lad, responsibilities.